very high-sounding cases. And although these are capital cases, but they are not the lead. Unfortunately, these are not the lead cases. What are the lead cases? Common assault. For example, in our last year's annual crime report, common assault, and what we mean by common assault, beating, fighting, harmful, beating a person until when you cause harm to him, or you grievously harm him. Those are the lead cases. But in the case of your interest here, the cases of defilement, if you can be able to look at our last year's annual crime statistics, was one of the smallest, and isolated in particular cases for that matter. But the lead, we have cases of common assault, we have the cases of domestic violence, we have cases related to thefts in general, thefts. So those are the cases. Now, as an entry point, how does a complaint turn into a case? We receive people whom we call our clients. They enter, and when they enter, that place where they enter to lodge in their complaint is called a reception. So you'll find there our detectives entering cases in what we call our stationary diary book, or abbreviated as ACD. So when you enter, they put the number, they put the date, they put the year, and that becomes our ACD reference. Now, there are definitely cases that are brought for guidance, for advice, for maybe referral, but not necessarily cases that really warranty police action. We have two categories of cases, and which I request our listeners to be very keen on it. The two cases that are handled or lead to complaints in a community are criminal cases and then civil cases. Now, the police's specialization and clear mandate is handling of criminal cases. But if you came at our counter and maybe you have a case, you have a matter which you have not fully understood, the point of referral, the point of guidance is at the counter. So our police personnel who are seated there guide you and say, no, this is a civil matter which requires either going directly to court or to the LOC, or you seek for a mediator, or even faith-based organizations, maybe even churches, mosques, so that they can ably handle, because anything related to civil is not within our mandate. So, time and again, what are those criminal matters? The criminal matters, part of it is the defilement you're talking about. Okay. But like I've told you, like I've alluded to, there are many, and these are very clearly stipulated in the penal code. A penal code is an offense book. It is a point of reference in which, when somebody has brought a case, we assume, we go and say, which case is this? What is the section of the law that has been committed, has been violated? What are the ingredients of the offense? Then when it is entered from the point of the counter, it is referred to the record room. The record room, that the officer in charge there prepares files and takes them to the OCCID. And sometimes the OCCID delegates his duties to the OC, the deputy in charge. So these two work hand in hand. And when that is done, after seeing you as a complainant who has brought a matter to police, becomes our principal witness. Okay. So we request you as a complainant to bring for us witnesses, or even to lead us to where we can gather more information, especially getting more witness statements, getting more evidence in terms of exhibits, and even maybe applying our forensic expertise in detecting or even in picking out more evidential matter from the scene of what we call, from the scene of crime. So a scene of crime is that area where you, the complainant, has come from, and you are assumed to report to us that that is where a matter happened from. So it is supposed to be preserved as a scene of crime. Then we take there our IOs and other support technology to deduct evidential matter to enable us to take the matter. Now, two things which we need to understand. I have talked that when you enter a case file at the police, you are given an ACD, that is a stationary diary book, stationary diary, your reference, and you move from there and say this is the reference of the case. What is the offense? Muleterwa has defiled my child. Luke has beaten me. So you get ACD reference. But when it goes to the record room, it turns out, as long as they have done three things. One, they have looked at the law, basing on the criminal, basing on the penal code, the section of the penal code which is assumed to have been violated, the ingredients of the offense. It turns out to be a CRB, that is a criminal record book. Now, it is what we base on to take that matter to the next level. And what is the next level? Government lawyers. So government lawyers are the DPP, the office of DPP, and who have different branches throughout the country. Particularly first line of the DPP, of the office of the DPP, is the RSA. So that's where we take these cases, these case files, for legal advice. Can we now take this person who is assumed to be a suspect to court? What is your take on this? Because at the end of it all, when we compile that case file, we are not the ones who are going to litigate. Litigate is arguing cases basing on the law, in courts of law. So the lead agency in litigation on government is the office of the DPP. Those are the government lawyers who are able to litigate cases. Because like I've told you, all criminal cases are cases that are managed and owned by government. Now, I need to also to make this clearly. In community, there is a common saying, musango gwange. Natutene ku polisi neremeso musango gwange. As long as a case is of criminal nature, it ceases being yours. It is not your case. It is a government case. And that's why, once that case has got a CRB number, it is Uganda versus. Now, versus is the suspect. So, for you, as at the entry of the police, you are a complainant. You now change the name. You are no longer a complainant, but rather you are our witness. Now, the first person who entered the case is our principal witness number one in that series, until when we exhaust all the witnesses on the basis of how we were able to investigate them.
Wow, that is really interesting. Now, Fande, can you kindly share some of maybe stats of the case clearance rates in the country and how they have changed over time, majorly in the police?
Now, I may not have that kind of information off-head because of two things. One, it is common knowledge. You know, our crime rate is no longer something managed by us alone. It is something that is shared and consumed by you people. So when you go on our police website, you download it, annual crime report, annual crime rate of 2022. You'll get it. It is common. It is public knowledge and information. So you can base on that one. But As of last year, and basing on the statement of what I saw, is that there was an increase in the annual crime report. I mean, annual crime rate of last year, as compared to 2020, 2021. Maybe a number of factors are attributed to that matter. One of it that we were in COVID, and therefore maybe people were fearing to commit crime, and there was that limited movement. Two, there are some people who assume that crime is committed because police is not doing enough. No, crime can be committed because people are even aware. They're aware. For example, somebody battering a wife. You loved your wife, you got her, you brought her, or even a woman, because these days women are boxers in their own home. So let's not assume that women are also innocent. Maybe we are looking at the magnitude in that matter. Yeah. So, but not that so what am I trying to, is that you know that you love your partner, but at the end of it all, you desire and begin beating him or her. So the rise of crime as of last year does not mean or does not translate into police inefficiency. Okay. It rather shows the level at which people are competently able to make decisions to commit crime because of the level of awareness. Because of our first line of approach, you go to what you assume the remotest area, people demanding for community policy. So how do they demand for community policy if they were not aware of what police is doing? So sometimes crime is committed deliberately, and that's why we look at the ingredients which could have precipitated into some of those acts. Two, even one thing which can also attribute is the rate at which even when we convict, when we lead to some of these people taken to court and eventually sentenced and serving their sentence, they again come back to commit a crime. And that act, that system, that process is called recidivism. So you realize that recidivism is a process of of becoming a repeated offender. So, but that said, we are up to our task, and we want to call upon everybody that crime cannot lead us anywhere and everywhere. We need really to work together to ensure that we safeguard our society and community for the betterment and development of our motherland, Uganda.
Indeed, when you talk about calling out every person, questions in my mind: how are you involving the community in case management?
One, look, I want you to understand me from the on look. The setup of police, not even the entire police, but the establishment of police in Uganda was kind of made to be a reactive organ. Reactive. Okay. An incident we sit and wait. We are just like a cat in waiting. You know how a cat grabs a rat? It is there waiting for an opportunity. So here, the establishment of police in 1906 was an organization in waiting for crime at that time. And therefore, that made us reactive. Okay. It is a little wonder that people like you, still have that colonial hangover to assume that the police must always be reactive. No, we are no longer an organization that reacts to crime in order to manage cases. We are an organization that is proactive, that needs to interact regularly, routinely, always with the community to prevent the occurrence of crime. And especially, not only crime, but generally looking at the problems that affect the community. Okay. We now have a larger mandate. Previously, we were looking at a mandate that was maintaining law and order. Here we are looking at the mandate that secures and promotes a safer environment. Now, safety embeds all elements of criminality, all elements of the wellness of an individual, the wellness of the community, but being fostered by the police.
But I find I could ask there. You see, the community outside there. If you, in most cases, if a police officer is passing by, people there is a way they will react. So, when you say the police is supposed to be interactive with the community out there, how are you going to phase out that? Should I call it fear or something amongst people? Because whenever they see a uniform, that's a different case.
That is a two-way traffic. It is a two-way traffic. You mean to say that in homes there are no loving fathers?
They are there.
But you mean to say in homes there are no rude fathers?
And you know how the children scatter when
Yes.
the rude father comes.
So, you see, let me tell you, when you are looking at police, please stop looking at police in isolation. Look at the larger society. How do they behave? Now, you are sure I am a policeman from heaven? From Mars? Now, while I put on this uniform to appear here, I come from a home.
Hey.
I come from a family. It's good I'm talking to a family TV. Now, my family background sometimes follows me even up to my workplace. That however much I am educated, but still, this is it. Now, whereas there are those police officers who may be feared, because I don't want to generalize. But at the end of it all, there are those who are loved. And therefore, this is what we are trying to say. And therefore, I want to appeal to our esteemed listeners and viewers that while you are judging, please, we should be able to use Ezekiel. You know, Ezekiel's letter to the Jews in the Old Testament. That while the Lord God could have used collective responsibility in condemning the Israelites at that time, he was now making a new commitment and a covenant that it will no longer be an issue of collective responsibility, but rather individual. Why? Because although we are all called human beings, you know, by the way we put on a dress of human beings, but human beings with different traits, different behavior, different attributes, different whatever, but the general virtues are clear and known by everybody. So this is what I'm trying to look at. What you are saying is not wrong, but I'm trying to appeal to the community to understand the context. But two, like I've told you, if Uganda and Ugandans were given a chance, you know, some of the countries where police and the community are embedded, they were also colonized. Let me give you examples of countries that were colonized. India was colonized by the British. But later on, because they were able to integrate the colonial system into their daily and cultural practices, they were even able to build a police system which was even enviable and admired and copied by the British. For example, the book called the Penal Code. It is the Indians who made it, and the British adopted it and introduced it here. Now, we have had our non-formal but traditional policing system. How I wish if those traditional policing systems were embedded in the current system, then that kind of fear, that kind of phobia, that kind of poor relationship would not be able to exist. For example, here in Uganda, the most common system is Gwanga Muje. Gwanga Muje. Now, that was a call for all members of the community to partner up with those in the leadership and ensure that anything which could have happened, whether good or bad, is collectively handled. And this is it. So, but because there was little to synthesize, to sieve, we wholesomely got whatever. It's a little wonder that up to today, some of you like Luke fear the police because of that colonial hangover. You still have that colonial mentality that the police must not be for them. I mean, must be for them. I am saying the police is no longer for them. We are for you.
Oh, wow.
We are ours. We move together. And what you have asked, how we are doing it, one of them is here. I am here. And I'm talking to everybody. Please, all of you who are there outside and listening to me, we are there for you. Please work with us in any way that can enable you to be safe, secure, and ensure development.
That is interesting. Of course, the police is here for us, and of course, it is us that will simplify their work. I hope I'm right there.
That is
now,
true.
Also, going back to how defilement and rape cases, how are you supporting the victims of these cases, majorly defilement and rape cases, when you find out, majorly when you get these victims? How do you support them?
Now, I want to be clear also on this. The police has a mandate to investigate and forward those case files to court. I mean to DPP. Then the DPP eventually forwards them to court. That is one.
Okay.
There are cases on which the police, by virtue of its powers and mandate, can be able to give what we call a police bond. And police bond, for that matter, is a constitutional right because it is properly enshrined in the Constitution. A 48-hour rule. That is what we talk of, the 48-hour rule. And it is in Article 23 or 24, somewhere there, of the Constitution of the Republic of Uganda. With the time, there are cases which were being committed with impunity and therefore leading to a lot of life and disregard for other people's rights. And these are case files of rape and of defilement. Let me start with rape. Rape is that forceful sexual interaction with a victim who has not consented to that act. As long as that victim, either a man or a woman, because there are those instances where they assume that men are not raped, but either a man or a woman, that is the law, is above 18 years. When you are above 18 years and you are forcefully into an act of sex without your consent, it is rape.
Even when they are married?
In Uganda, that one is not there.
Hey.
No. That one is not there. In Uganda, that one applies maybe outside, which I don't know.
So if you're married, there is nothing.
We don't hold those ones.
Oh, okay.
Unless if you are married, but the one forcing a sexual relationship is not your partner.
Okay.
Maybe look, you want to come to my wife and you begin disorganizing her. That is rape. But if it is me with her, that is our relationship and our matter in wherever we are supposed to do it from.
Okay.
Now, so that is one. Two, defilement is in two categories. There is what we call aggravated defilement, and there is what we call simple defilement. By definition, aggravated defilement is that kind of a sexual relationship with a person who has the following traits. One, is above the age, is below the age of 14 years. So as long as somebody is below the age of 14 years, any person who would have forcefully had that relationship with him or her, either way, a man or a woman, is called aggravated defilement. Two, if the person having a sexual interaction with such a person is a relative, either a teacher or a father or an uncle, by virtue of having a relationship, you have to go for aggravated defilement. Three, if the person who has had an interaction with the victim is proved to be HIV/AIDS positive. And lastly, if the victim, the state of mind is in between Nakawa and Butabika. So such is an imbecile, and therefore cannot be able to commit a decision, and therefore you are taking advantage of that.
Okay.
So that is how the two categories of defilement are, and therefore, basing on how the police has gathered the evidence, and we have taken it to the DPP for legal advice. The witnesses, DPP, and then the DPP forwards them to court. Such a person can go for even life in prison or even death. Now, two, unlike other cases, we have about 7 categories of cases which are capital. And I want the listeners and viewers to get to this. We have 6 or 7 or even more than 7 cases which are capital. What do we mean by capital? That although common assault can be a case file which is owned by the state, but there are cases which take an upper edge where the state is highly interested in. And therefore, the police has tied hands that cannot be able to give a police bond until when the suspect is taken to court and maybe even remanded. These cases include the ones you have mentioned that you want me to talk about: defilement and rape. Another one is murder. Another one is terrorism. Another one is robbery. Another one is smuggling. Smuggling, among others. Those are, and you see, besides that, like I've talked about terrorism. Terrorism has so many clauses, has so many ingredients, and therefore this makes it a very big offense that you cannot be able to cattle rustling. Of recent now we have a case of trafficking in persons, and also aggravated trafficking in persons. So those are capital cases for which the police, as your organization, cannot have a direct giving of a police bond. A bond to a suspect is caught. And I want also our listeners to get to know the difference in that freedom. You know, court is a temporary freedom that you are given. I mean, in bond is a temporary freedom you are given as the case file is being managed by those organs that are entrusted. The first one, when a case goes to court, there is what we call court bail. Court bail. A bail is when you are given under terms by court, including you as a suspect forfeiting some money. You are able to forfeit that money in court, not to the police. The police, when you are supposed to get a police bond, we are supposed to give it to you for free. Although some instances, because this is not even allowed, but in some instances we have some individual police officers who eventually kind of disorganize that right. Yes. But a police bond at police is for free, with the exception of those individuals who want to practice corrupt tendencies. But we give you for free, but on conditions which don't include you paying money there, because we don't have the receipt for a police bond.
Okay.
But at court, you pay for what we call court bail. But also court has a prerogative to give you a court bond. A court bond, especially when you really prove that you are worth for it when you are there.
Okay, thank you so much. Fande, of course, we're still continuing with this conversation, but please interest yourself in knowing much, depending on what we are being given right now. The information seems to be so productive. I hope you've not been misled somehow, somewhere, but always stay in, I always emphasize people to stay in their lanes and also practice good habits in the country. So we shall return shortly, of course, continuing.
Now, before we go to that, like I've said, that we are supposed to handle all criminal case matters in this country, some of which include, are not limited to these ones here. As police, we have an investigative arm, and that is under the directorate of CID. But for a case to succeed, there must be one, total cooperation of one, the victim, and if the victim is a minor, we must be able to have the cooperation of the relatives, who may include, are not limited to the parents, but also the third one is securing of a scene of crime. A scene of crime is that place which is suspected for an offense to have been committed from. Why? It is a place where we believe evidential matter can be collected. Take an example. If somebody is complaining about defilement, you may find that maybe in the place where the act took place, there was the rupturing of the private part of a woman or a man, and therefore there was blood. So when we go there, we are able to pick out some hair, hair, especially detecting hair of a private part can be there. Maybe the footprints, the shoes, maybe the bed sheets. Maybe if it was an act of fighting, the first wear was torn and maybe pieces were thrown there. So when we go there, we are able to pick substance of many evidences from there. So I want to call upon any person who is viewing and would wish for us to have successful prosecution and eventual conviction of these matters, to always call upon any person who wants to tamper. Tampering is when you want to go there and forcefully go and maybe trample there or even remove. If you have made a complaint, make it a point that you secure. Maybe if it is your bedroom, or if it is a bush, or it is a lodge, secure that place so that indeed we can be able to come there with our forensic expertise and the ICT expertise to deduct evidence from there. But two, you have asked how we manage defilement cases. Now, when a victim is defiled, the best thing we urge is such people to go for PEP. There is that tab which is given to a victim of PEP, because you are not sure whether the person who has forcefully had a relationship with you is safe. So we urge you to take that PEP because it will kind of safeguard you from acquiring HIV/AIDS. That is the first thing. Two, we call for you as a victim to come to police. You record a statement, and you record it in privacy. In privacy, if it is assumed that the victim is a minor and maybe the perpetrator of the offense are related, we partner up with what we call service providers, who are our implementing partners, the community-based organizations that can be able to give shelter to a minor. Either we resettle him or her from the family, where one, counseling will be provided in order to kind of remove that trauma from such a person and gain confidence. Two, to ensure that he can then be able to comply. You know, when somebody has gone through such an experience, it may not be easy for him or her to to cooperate. Three, when that case is entered, we dispatch our team to do two things. One, they give the victim police form, a police form which is able to prove where the victim is taken for medical examinations. And the medical expert indeed proves that indeed that act took place. So we cannot, you know, sometimes we are taken by generalization, especially the community. Look, when somebody dies there, people say, afude. Ne police eganye, police tubakubira baganya okujja omulambo. For you and me, please, we do not have expertise to presume that that person is dead. And that's the reason why sometimes we urge the people to allow us conduct a post-mortem. Why? Because that post-mortem proves that indeed the person died. You know, there are instances when we are driven to assume that somebody has died. Kumbe, he could be having that kind of, it could be subconscious, but still alive. So the only person who can be able to prove that somebody has died, somebody has been murdered, somebody has been raped, it's through medical examinations. And as police, we give you police forms for you to go and present it to our medical team. On a specific guidance from the OCCID, we refer you to specific medical centers, which are most likely to be government, or those medical centers which have a partnership with us, because it has a connotation of finance. You as a victim, you are not supposed to pay any money. You don't pay any money. It is government, because like I've told you, it is an offense where government has interest, and therefore it is the government that must facilitate everything, including litigating it for you in courts of law. So when we have done that, we assume to put the victim, the victim has already been taken to maybe a shelter or is somewhere for protection. We then then arrest the suspect. Also, the suspect goes through, you know, any capital case, by the way, it is not any, but all cases would desire for a victim, not a victim, a suspect to undergo medical whatever. But this has now been left for a preserve of capital offenses to undergo medical examination, especially determining their state of mind. When you were doing this act, were you normal at that time?
Okay.
Or you were in between Nakawa and Butabika? If you were proved that you were in between Nakawa and Butabika, that is, the state of mind was mad, then there is a way the presiding judge will have to litigate that matter and see how to conclude it. But for us, whether you have proved yourself to be mad, it is not us to say you are free, you go.
Okay.
The exit or entry is the police, but the exit is through court, and the last one may be through prison, for that matter. Okay. So that's how we handle these cases. And when you go to court, you definitely know that you'll be remanded, especially when you have committed defilement, for that matter, which you are interested in. You must be remanded.
Maybe on that particular note, could you highlight some of the penalties?
The penalties are about three or four. One is life in prison. Yes, when you have committed this, and indeed the presiding judge has deducted all evidences and seen that there was incriminating evidence onto you, he or she can sentence you for life in prison. Two, They are trying to discourage, especially the human rights defenders. They are discouraging the penalty of death. But still in our law books, the penalty of death still holds. It is there. 3, you can be directed to serve a life in prison and also be directed to pay for the victim. 4, the victim on his or her own or through her attorney can sue you for compensation and general damages that you have inflicted against him or her. So those are the penalties, including depending on your approach, you can even forfeit finances to compensate for the victim in that matter. Then 4, you can be given a number of years to serve in prison. So all of those are within the prerogative of the court. Yes.
That has been interesting. It has been really interesting to have you, Afande, here. Maybe if you could give us a last shot.
My last word, not last word, my conclusive remarks is that please, Ugandans, let's get to know the following. 1, that we all have a responsibility in safeguarding our motherland. Stop thinking that it is the work of the police to prevent crime. We need to work together. Agali awamu gigalume nyama. 2, when you have any issue that may threaten your life, please feel free to go to police, especially when you go to police where there is a DPC or CCID or station, or you use our line offices, for which I head the lines of the community liaison officers. They are there for you. We need to work together. Lastly, police is yours, police is mine, police is ours. Let's work together to secure and lead to development of Mother Uganda. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Afande. And of course, yes, true, police is here for us and police is ours, as he has truly noted. Of course, police has lots of information in case you want. As he noted earlier, you want to know anything, please make sure you visit their website. Everything is always posted there at any time you want. My name, Luke Majumba Alinaito, and I've been sitting in for Caro Nowamani here. Issues at hand, we say bye-bye.
Issues at hand, powered by
Protea Hotel by Marriott Entebbe. Comfort and luxury at its best.